Apologies for the small technical error, but we are back and here to cover qualifying for the Sunday Grand Prix series. Lotus 79's out on track, and Freakton Kate holds the provisional pole. While we're looking at Vadio Congas, he's been bumped down to third just now. Severi Seppa finds himself a little bit of time on that second lap. And now Andy T up to the top spot on his first lap around.
Yeah, so things happening all very quickly. Vainiokangas still out on the second lap. Andy T, I believe, is out there as well in his second lap that he is. So let's see if these guys can improve. Now it's a bit of a nip and go, nip and tuck for these guys if they can improve on that second lap at all. But certainly Vainiokangas at least trying to go faster than the 1 minute 12.4. Ideally faster than 1 minute 12.2. Can he do it? Yes, he can improve a little bit. However, no position gain for Eetu, so that's his qualifying efforts done.
Just 1/10 between first to fourth place currently. Millward could disrupt things. Don't forget, he's been quick. And in fact, he won earlier today in another race for the Lotus 79s. He's coming around on his second lap. Where is Andy T? There he is right there. And he's coming around the carousel, last couple of corners, and he's going to abandon it. He's not happy with it.
Yeah, and it's a point of pride for a lot of these guys, to put in a competitive lap or not put in a lap at all. So he decided that he's not going to be able to improve, probably not happy with his SS section. And now here's a new driver just coming into the pit lane, sadly. Markus Seufzer from Germany. And he is one of the guys we are going to see in this race because it did not split. And mind you, Joe, as we've said many times before, races usually split on this series and on iRacing according to the iRating, so the driver rating of these guys. And this time it did not split, so we are going to have a race with 33 drivers and a good chance for a lot of these folks to make a name for themselves.
Millward did not improve on his second lap, just a 10th slower, so he'll have to settle for 6th or worse. There's a few drivers still out there trying to put that second lap in. Carl Villeneuve, one of those. Freakton Kata has returned, but he had a mistake on his previous lap, so I think maybe he's just getting a little bit more practice in before he takes to the grid. We're going to take a look at Carl Villeneuve down in 7th as he comes through madness and up to the S's. Very tricky and slower part of this course as now he comes up to the leap and into Thunder Valley. What has he got? He's got to improve on a 12.7 and he's half a second off the pole.
He is, but he's been on a good form lately. Now, I don't think this lap's going to count when you look at the timing on the board, and indeed he's just looking for some race practice, maybe looking how this car performs on cold tires. But Carl Villeneuve is an interesting driver because he's been on an upwards form this season. He used to be outside the top 10 pretty regularly. Now he's finding himself within the top 10 and occasionally disrupting the battles in top 5. So I'm going to be very curious to see how he does, Joe.
Nobody else is able to set a time from here, so our qualifying is indeed over. Let's go through our rather large field here today for round 5. Andy T is going to be starting on the pole with Freakton Kate next to him on that front row. Severi Seppa has the number 1 on his car, but is only good enough for 3rd in qualifying. Eetu Vainiokangas in P4. Juanmi Costa, good enough for 5th. Alex Millward, probably a little bit disappointed with only 6th place in qualifying. And Carl Villeneuve starting behind him in P7. To his outside, it'll be Peter Koneski. Pauli Partonen starts 9th, and Brett Wayand, I believe that's a new name in the series, will round out your top 10.
Someone who's not a new name for the series, Barry West, going to be starting 11th place. Pablo Suarez alongside him with Uwe Trengeride and Vimal Anandharaman 13th and 14th. Andrew Gall 15th, Lars Olsen 16th with Robert Simpkins, Thomas Thorpe, Keith Herner and Cristiano Corraini rounding out your top 20.
Ritiolis will be in 21st with Travis Van Dusseldorp in 22nd. You got Steve Starl starting 23rd today with Marcus Seufzer in 24th position. Anthony Obrota in 25th will be followed by Miguel Alcalde, and that will be in the 26th spot. Timothy Reed, 27th, followed by Thomas Delmuth, and 28th, Chris Hemmings. Good enough for 29th. Then you get into the drivers a little bit off the pace. Dean Garreau in 30th, Sam Doby in 31st, and 2 drivers who did not put a time in are Rolveld and Reed, who will be gridded at the back of the field. All right, a standing start off of the what is usually the finish line instead of the start line. So this is going to be tricky here, Ozzy, with the carousel for much of the drivers being their starting position.
Yeah, so you're gonna be starting in a corner, not ideal, especially for a couple of fast guys stationed in the back, Sam Doby and Derek Rollwell, unable to put a good qualifying time in, and they're gonna be having to do a lot of overtaking, but we're gonna see how well they will fare soon. Mind you, advantage also for the guys in top 6 or so, because they're gonna be starting on top of the hill and even downhill, whereas the guys on position 7 and upwards are gonna be, downwards rather, are gonna be starting uphill.
So T coming back to see if he can pull another win out, this time starting from pole. And he's well ahead of Millward, who he started ahead of last time and unfortunately lost to. As all of our drivers are now out on the grid, engines start to rev, lights are up. Green flag is out. It's a very poor start for third place Seppa. A very good start for Costa, who's already weaving through the traffic and up into fourth place. They dive it down into the first corner, and so far so good for the field. I'm not seeing any spins or wrecks in the background.
Nope, everybody made it through clean.
The keyhole for the first time. A few attempts down on second place as Seppa took a look on Freakton Kate. Didn't quite work out. Might have a battle back there for Vanio Congas's position in fifth. Millward already on top of him. He looks to the inside as everybody in front of him going to stay single file, but can't quite outbreak the number 5.
No, can't quite. You have to make the rain while make the hay while the sun shines in these opening laps with the cold tires. It's gonna be your best opportunity, as we mentioned earlier. Overtaking very difficult here at Mid Ohio, so they're gonna be trying to catch each other off the guard while they still can.
A little bit of a gap forming behind Andy T. We saw a slide over the leap from Freakton Kate, obviously feeling the pressure from Seppa behind, and they're into the carousel for the first time as they come back around to complete lap 1. Still very packed up behind our leader, despite him pulling a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah, it is, and I'm looking at P number 5 and 6 with Alex Milburn. Oh, big slide for him, but he holds it together. Alex Milburn, I was just saying he was very close to Eetu Vainio-Kangas. Well, he was a little too close, compromised on the entry of the corner and, making a mistake, and now is in the claws of Carl Villeneuve and potentially Peter Konieczny as well. So not the start Alex Milburn needed for this race.
Just as impressive, Villeneuve and Konieczny backing up without losing the car and not hitting him. Partanen got shoved off track, unfortunately, as Konieczny was distracted by everything happening in front of him. Peter, though, is a little wide coming into China Beach. Doesn't lose the position, but clearly unnerved by everything that's been happening.
Yeah, meanwhile, up in second place, I'm looking at the times, and Seppa is clawing closer and closer to 10 cats now. With him just 3 tenths behind on the last SS section. He's putting a gap between himself and Juanmi Costa as well. So, Freakton Kate, we know him as a fast qualifier, not necessarily as the most consistent racer. He's had a couple of podiums here and there. He's been happy with those, but usually he's been slowly falling backwards through the grid. And with Andy T stretching out a little bit of a lead for himself, I think Severi Seppa will be anxious to make his way past the Dutchman, unless the Dutchman can find himself a little bit more flight.
So, real quick, don't need to go to it, but Simpkins got shoved off by Van Dusseldorp in the carousel. Both were able to continue. We're going to continue to watch this battle as we come down the backstretch towards China Beach on board with Severi. Doesn't look like he's got anything for Tenkate as they break for that right-hander. Both of them pushing as hard as possible, though. Driver falling backwards, unfortunately, is Barry West with a phenomenal qualifying, but not able to back it up. He's gone from 10th to 12th here in the first couple of laps.
Yeah, he is, and he's in a great battle here as well. You look at these guys with Uwe Trengerai, Barry West, Pablo Suarez, Andrew Gold as well. Andrew Gold, a new name. Certainly looking like he belongs here. So we got a couple of guys who are usually in the second non-broadcasted split, trying to make a name for themselves, as I mentioned earlier on. Brett Wyand and Andrew Gold, as well as Vimand Anand Haraman, the cleanest out of those names. clears with them being well into the top 15. So that's what I was mentioning. Great chance for these guys to show that, despite our lowly R rating, we belong here pace-wise, and you usually find diamonds in the rough in series like these. And once again, with the pack forming across the first corner and coming into the keyhole once again, they are really holding themselves together in this pack. So I'm not seeing any excessive overtaking opportunities. I'm not seeing anything, any trying too hard, anything like that you usually get with these new guys. So, showing their experience despite it being their first or second broadcasted race.
Behind them, you can see Torp to the inside. This is a fight with Harriman. And down into the corner, it looks like Torp's going to be able to take that 15th spot away. Took him a couple corners to get it done, but he managed to make it stick. Laust Olsen is behind them. Oh, and something happened with Freakton Kata. He's off course. This is in the leap, and he's having to wait a long time to find a clearing that he can get back in. What caused this?
Well, as we are queuing the replay, I'm not seeing anyone else damaged, and yep, he just put his two wheels on the grass and spun out into the barrier. So that's a shame for Freakton Carter. We talked about his lack of consistency, and indeed the car is so heavily damaged. You can see it on the rear end that he's in the pit lane right now and not able to continue this race. So that's a shame for Freakton Carter. It might be, though, a blessing in disguise for Severi Seppa.
This will promote him up into second. And now that he's got clear air, can he start closing in on T, who's already got himself a 1.6 second gap over that P2 driver? How about Juanmi Costa, rated number 12 according to iRating, and yet he's running in third right now. So very nice day for him in that McLaren as we ride on board. A big slide, though, coming out of Madness.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And Juanmi Costa, he's been fast before. Don't be fooled by his lowly R rating. He's been fast before, and he's a bit of a specialist. Got the James Hunt knockoff helmet, and certainly driving like Mr. Hunt as well, turning that McLaren around the track. And, he's not afraid to use up those rear tires, and it might come back to bite him towards the end of this race. But right now, he's not looking too bad. He's trying to stay up to Severi Seppa and trying to hold Eetu and Alex behind him as well. And so far, so good for Juanmi Costa, not really losing too much time last time around to Severi Seppa, just half a tenth of a second. So really tight up front with Severi catching 2/10 up to NDT. So, this is when these drivers are starting to settle in, Joe. This is when the car is gonna start to feel a little bit slower, and this is when you're just trying to, manage everything. We're in a managing phase. However, looking at the pictures right now, Joe, this doesn't look like managing with these guys.
Wayand, unfortunately, has got a little bit of pressure, more than pressure. Oh, and he may have lifted there as Trangarade is easily able to overtake him down into China Beach. So I'd been keeping an eye on this one. I'd noticed that Ove had been gaining on that number 25. Now he's managed to get through. So next on the list for him is Parton. Oh, what a big slide for Wayand. He holds on to it, but now he's got West close behind.
Yeah, so he's gonna be starting to feel the pressure. Must say, an excellent qualifying for number 25 there. Managed to qualify himself inside the top 10, which is always an achievement in a grid like this, but now starting to slide a little bit back as the race rolls along with these guys having a better race setup. Potentially Brett maybe trying a little bit too hard with his tires, sliding all about and overheating them. So, thankfully he's got Barry West behind him, who's an experienced racer and as such will not throw any, any overly hasty moves and can also adapt reasonably well, can Barry. So if Brett makes a mistake, he doesn't have to be worried about some rookie running into the back of him.
A little bit of a train starting to form behind him, though. It's not just West. That's Suarez, Good, and Torp that are also involved. Unfortunately for Suarez, he might have pulled up to his outside. How deep on the brakes can he take it? Andrew tries to go for the over-under, but he's on the wrong side of the track once again as they swing it through Madness. Everybody trying for every bit of grip possible. Thankfully, not too hot of a day, 95 degrees Fahrenheit on the track surface. So, and there he goes.
He did a freaking car tear, did Pablo Suarez. We saw it on live pictures. He put two tires on the grass coming into the hump or jump or whatever you call it, the leap, I think. And 10 just, sliding wide. That is a very treacherous place for these drivers because you're turning as you're approaching the corner, and that's what can very easily happen as we are jumping closer to the front.
This is the battle for P4. A2 has Millward underneath that gearbox. They're going to come out of the keyhole where you need that critical corner exit. Alex not doing much in the way of inroads that time, it seems, although he'll pull a little bit of slipstream as they pick up speed, 155 miles an hour, and then they'll break back down as they swing it through China Beach at about 80 miles an hour. Oh, and he gained a lot through that portion as Millward looks very good on the brakes.
He does indeed, and this is where you see the difficult section once again as they are coming to it. So you're turning right, a flat-out right-hander really, and Alex getting a little bit loose there and just setting himself up for the leap. And that's a blind entry. You don't see the exit, so it's very easy to go a little bit too far to the left on the entry, or it's very easy to also go a little bit too far to the left on the exit because the car is getting very light as you go over the leap. Hence why it's called the leap, probably because you're feeling like you're almost jumping there. And as such, it may not look like much on TV screens, but it's a very, very difficult corner to get right.
Turn 1 down towards the keyhole. This is almost forming into a 3-car fight because Vani Okalgas continues to close on Costa ahead of him. So this could be to settle the last spot on the podium. Look at him square it off. Millward really trying to come off there hard, a little too hard as the rear kicks out on him.
Yeah, once again, Millward maybe crumbling a little bit, trying a little bit too hard to get that good exit, going wide and just a bit of a slide. Thankfully not losing too much time, but still making a mistake. And so also is making a mistake Juan Costa going a little bit wide on China Beach. So, these guys starting to really put it on the edge. And this is where things get interesting. Eetu is faster than Juanmi right now. He can see it. He can see Juanmi trying very hard. Does he wait for a mistake, or does he try and force an overtake? He is able to see that Juanmi is going very wide on some of these corner entries. So maybe a crossover is a possibility here.
They start thinking outside the box as they come through the carousel. Still, will he be susceptible if he tries to start attacking on Wanby? Will that open the door for Alex potentially?
It does if you can't get it right. That's the difficulty of being in the second place on a 3-car train. You have to make, when you go for an overtake, you have to make it stick, or else you're coming under threat to a guy behind, from a guy behind. That's why, usually when 2 cars leading the 3-car train are having a battle, the loser usually loses not 1 but 2 positions because the guy behind can time in that popcorn position, as they say. He can time his attack and he can, find a good gap to go into. If guys are going side by side, he can just focus on the exit and pick up the guy who's worse off.
To a little bit out of shape as they head into the lefts and rights, the many turns here on the back half of the course. So that allows Millward to close in, but not able to do anything with it as they focus so much on each other. I'm kind of watching Carl Villeneuve. It does look like he might be creeping up on them. And I think we've had a problem with Keith Herner. This looks like to be China Beach. And, some help. Pablo Suarez is going to get into the back of him, unfortunately.
Yeah, and he apologized over the chat as well. Just a little bit of a clumsy contact coming into China Beach after the long straight. Maybe not accustomed to how, early Keith was braking there. Keith, of course, having his own braking spot on 10. Man, give him a rally car to get out of that one.
That angle really showed you how wide that sand trap is, too. He was a long ways into it, having to climb back. So, our leader still Andy T.
Oh, Ryan spun. Number 25 has spun exiting the keyhole.
He's going to be able to get back going. Oh, maybe not. He overcooks it, and he's going to lose more positions now with his over-eagerness. This was his own doing, unfortunately. Nobody near him.
Yeah, he just got on the power too early. I think, just trying to maximize his corner exit, knowing he was under threat. did the right thing of waiting a little bit, but then just, you know, overcooking his rear tires, and that sucks so hard. That's so easy to do, but when it happens, you look like such an amateur, and you feel like such an amateur too. So he's now stuck behind Sam Doby, actually, and this might not be a bad place to be in at all, because Sam Doby, he's been quietly making ways from 31st to 19th, now 18th, as he got past Brett Wayne.
Coming back to that battle for third place. Oh, here we go. As A2 got a shot, he's looking up the inside and he can't shut the door as Costa suddenly finds the car to his inside. As they come off the corner, he tries to maximize the exit, but he's in the grass, and that's going to cost him the 2 spots that Ozzy was just talking about, because there goes Millward. Millward might get 2 himself.
He's got a cone. Juanmi got a cone stuck under his front wing as well. So that's gonna compromise him a lot.
Flew off, it looks like. Oh, they come together. Vinny Okonkis gets shoved off course, and more spots lost for Costa as Konecki and Villeneuve sneak through.
And Costa's damaged as well. So here you can see it with Vinny Okonkis and Millward battling. Millward got the inside, and then Costa trying to take the inside line. Just sliding a little bit wide on the braking and hit Eetu Vinny Okonkis. Really a clumsy contact. Costa, of course, trying to get his positions back, but he could have been a little bit further away, trying to, you know, not make that happen, make that contact happen. And Costa, a lot of damage in his car as well. He's dropped a long way back, as is Eetu Vinny Okonkis. So that's a real shame now, with Eetu relegated all the way back to what I believe is 8th place. Yeah, it is, behind Uwe Trengride.
Listen to that opening wreck at Mid-Ohio for the IndyCars this year. So we now see Uwe with A2 right behind him, coming into the keyhole. A2 should have the pace as long as his car isn't too damaged from those bits of contact.
I mean, it didn't look like he would be damaged too much by that, because thankfully it was a pretty straight contact to his left rear wheel. And that left rear wheel is big and sturdy. It doesn't get damaged very easily, and as it didn't damage any components on his car, I'm not sure about the underbody due to going through the grass, but, you know, it didn't damage his wing, and as such he should have his pace. But as we said before, overtaking very difficult here, and he's got Uwe and Pauli now right in front of him. Now I'm sure he's faster than Uwe, but being faster is one thing and overtaking is another thing, especially as we know how fast Uwe can make that car go on a straight line.
Clearly he's fast today, because despite qualifying in 13th, Trengrade is up to 7th position here. So he's been having a great day, to be honest, as they come to complete another lap, not even halfway through this thing. But we've seen a fair bit of action, I must say.
Yeah, and we're going to be seeing even more action, because already the leaders are starting to catch up to the first group of lappers. Dan Giroux, in fact, if he can get cameras on number 30, he's now in front of Carl Villeneuve, who's losing a bit of time overtaking him. Peter Konecki making it through him as well. And that's going to be a recurring problem with a 33 car field. And he is going to catch even more and more of these guys as we are coming to the middle portions and later portions of this race. So that's going to be something we get to talk about for the first time in a while.
We had a problem with Reed and Van Dusseldorp, the 33 off track, and they made contact, it seems. Van Dusseldorp is not unfamiliar with those car contacts, as this is the second one we've seen so far. This one, though, was him trying to return to the track. Here it starts, coming through turn 11.
Okay, so here he is just going a little bit wide, trying to get out of the way, and then just, you know, grass is slippery. And here's what can happen when the grass is slippery. That's just really, really clumsy. And I'm sure, I mean, not gonna be too hard on Travis there, because that's a really, really silly error to make, but that's also a pure error. And you must be feeling like an idiot after that one, to be honest. And one should be, but really, it's easier done than said in that case.
Yeah, and he might have to send some flowers to Reed, because he's had to toe after that, so his day is done. Meanwhile, as we continue to watch this fight for 4th position, Villeneuve, recently promoted up here, still has his mirrors full of the number 9, but the 9 isn't close enough to be able to attack as we now ride on board with the helmet cam.
That we do, and you can really see the undulations of this track as we are watching from the helmet cam. And here you can see also, if we stick with this, coming to the right-hander here, that's the entry to the lead. And you can just how little you can see. You're coming through a right-hander. You want to take it all the way to the left, but you know the curve is gonna end before the corner entry point. And you've seen a couple of guys already take it to the grass there. You can gain a tenth, even 2/10 of a second, taking the wide line there, but it's also a big risk. And that's really show what Mid-Ohio is all about. It's a very technical circuit, and it's a lot about risk and reward. How big of a risk are you willing to take to reap that reward of a couple of tenths?
No, did Barry West have an issue? Yes, he did. With Gould, the number 23, both of them off course, and once again in turn 11. Oh, you know what? I think this is lap traffic.
Yeah. So we got Dan Giroux in front of them, and Barry West just trying to find an overtake. Being calm, being the veteran driver he is, biding his time. Unfortunately, behind him, Andrew Gould just not able to anticipate how slow the lapped car can be. And you know what? There was Thomas Thorpe involved in that one as well. With Barry West taking the brunt of the impact, not being very happy at all, and why would he?
Yeah, especially after he was having such a great race. He was looking at a good points haul today. Oh, and did Vanio Congas manage to get by Tanqueray? He's trying. He's side by side and into the S's. Unfortunately, he runs out of grip and has to settle back in behind.
Yeah, so Eetu already trying to get that pass on Uwe Trengeride, not able to find it on the Norwegian quite yet. But Eetu in that Ferrari, he is certainly looking hot on the heels and trying desperately to get that 7th place back for himself. Now, Uwe going very wide on the penultimate corner on the main straight. He may have a chance in the first corner, Joe. If he tries it, he will.
Be very brave if he does try it, and he does. He's given space. Trangarade goes the long way around, but that's going to switch back to the inside of the keyhole. It's a drag race now up the hill, breaking into this 180-degree turn. Can he get it back? He's trying. Powering up the corner. Wow. And it still continues a little bit better for Eetu this time, but the slipstream for, and is he going to squeeze him off? He has to give him space. The car is there. Trangarade comes back at it, just barely squeaking through. It continues on for the 3rd corner and the 4th corner. Trangarade still not giving this one up. He's making them work for it behind them. Costa could have a shot as they go 3 wide through the lap traffic. Is no one willing to give way here? And finally, Eetu gets it done.
iRacing top 10. Number 1. Here you go. Forget all about those oval clips. Forget about the 4 wide finishes. We see those every week when we are at super speedways. This is motor racing. Wow. What a battle between Eetu Vainio-Kangas and Uwe Trengeride, and good job by Thomas Delmuth in that ABBA-sponsored ADS cars getting out of the way when he saw the guys coming 2 wide turn, momentarily 3 wide, still made it through, and Eetu really, he had to put it all on the line. Over half a lap they were side by side, and I think it is possible to overtake at Mid-Ohio. You just need to work for it a little bit harder than you saw, Joe.
Certainly, and both of them were working hard. That was high-quality stuff. Vanio Congas already stretching away, though, now that he has clear air. Ahead of them, remember Villeneuve and Konecki? Well, they're still battling with one another.
Andretti has lost the lead.
Oh, what happened there?
I'm gonna check it. I don't know. I just noticed we were hyping that battle. I'm gonna check it. So
inherit top spot. We've got the replay. Let's take a look. This had to have been some sort of mistake.
Yeah, he's coming into the leap here, and you can see it on the back half of the track. And he's coming into the leap here, and is he gonna do the same thing that Freak Tenkate did? Yes, he is. And that's a nice save. Unfortunately, still finding himself more close to the barriers than he would have ever wanted, and as a result of that, losing the lead and losing the 2nd place as well. So that means we have a new leader, and it is the Smith, Severi Seppä, ahead of Alex Milward and ahead of Andy T. And Andy, you know what? I know that has to suck so hard, but at the end of the storm, there is a golden sky.
Well, he's still on the podium, and we've seen he's had decent pace. He's within 2 seconds of Milward. Could he manage to get at least 1 spot up? Seppä, by the way, has not had a win yet this season, so this will feel good if he can just hold on to this for the latter half of the race. And as we go back down to 6th position, Partanen already dealing with Eetu. Remember, as they go by some cars that are off track, that's Reed once again, along with a very slow Hemmings. We'll go back to that later. Not sure what happened there. Partanen, who has been promoted to 6, is going to have to fight hard to hold on to this one if that last battle is anything to go by.
Yeah, those lapped cars having a little bit of an issue with Reed going wide and Hemmings, just getting out of the way from the leader. So I must say the lappers have been mostly handling this quite well so far. No blue bombs, as the leading drivers like to call them. Really putting their messing up the leading battles, as we have Vainio Kangas here now really putting the pressure on Partanen, and I can't help but imagine this will be short work by Eetu Vainio Kangas, already getting alongside on the outside, and Partanen here on the inside, trying certainly to hold on, but Eetu should get the better exit here and should get the run around the outside, and he does. Much easier than last time.
Yeah, really, but even still, I'm amazed. Eetu is certainly making it look easier than we had predicted in terms of passing. Had to go a little defensive on Partanen down into China Beach just to cover him off. I wonder if Ove could get something. Is Paulie damaged here, or this is unusual that he's being caught in the car suddenly?
I'm not seeing anything, I'm not seeing anything on the front wing. I'm not seeing anything on the rear wing. It could be that he's driving with a conservative setup as opposed to, getting the wing off, because he was 9th in qualifying. He's now up there on the 7th place behind Eetu, with Uwe Trengeride right behind him, and I'm gonna really have to wait and see how he does as the race progresses along, because he's slow right now, but it could be just, him trying to manage his car towards the end of the race. It could be him having a higher downforce setup that doesn't work so well when you're right behind someone. And as you can see in turn number 1, Uwe Trengeride losing a lot of time. He's gaining that time on the straights, but he's losing that time on the fast corners. So Uwe's only chance is to really send it in here. And you can see Uwe taking a much better line in the keyhole.
And though focusing on that corner exit, squaring it off, and that gets him a very good run down the back stretch. Trengeride starts to reel him in. I don't think he's going to be close enough. Yep, he takes a little bit of a look just to show himself in the mirrors, but it is all for naught.
Yeah, so keyhole is really... It's not a weird hairpin in a sense. On the map, it looks like a straightforward hairpin, right? But... and there's a spinning car. That's Car Villeneuve and Konieczny, yes.
Oh no, did this come to a poor end? It did. They started a race side by side. This actually kicked off in China Beach. Yeah, right here. This is where the battle starts. And then again, it's very much like we saw with Eetu. Neither willing to give up, but unfortunately they didn't give each other enough space here.
Yeah, and Car Villeneuve just turning into Peter Konieczny. A little bit of netcode involved in that one as well, but I think Car was, thinking he was going to be able to close the door, and both of them are out of the race as well. Yeah, Konieczny and Villeneuve are both out of the race as well, with neither of them having cars that are able to keep going.
Right back to that now fifth place battle. Eetu promoted up to 4th. Partanen up to P5. Trengeride still working on it. The more the time that he takes to try and pass this 11th, though, the longer he is going to lose touch with the 5. Because it seems like Eetu's really got the legs here and is just pulling a decent gap between himself and Partanen.
Yeah, he's trying. He's trying certainly to pull in a gap, and he's noticing that, he may be a shoe-in for the podium as well. If this race continues as is, with the lap cars and with drivers coming together, you have to leave some room. As Fernando Alonso said, you have to always leave a space. You have to always leave a space, and that's what didn't happen there earlier on, and you can see what happens when you don't leave a space. Meanwhile, the leaders as well, you said Eetu is pulling the legs. Who else is pulling the legs right now? In the second place.
Oh, Millward. Oh, you're right. Wow. 2.8 seconds up the second. Take a look at how these laps have been progressing here. Between the number 1 and the number 2 appropriately. In fact, 1, 2, and 3 in iRating, and 1, 2, and 3 on track right now. And it does look like Millward is consistently clawing away, sometimes as much as half a second a lap.
Yeah, so Seppe is starting to struggle a little bit with his car. It feels like, on lap 21, we saw him lose 0.6 of a second to Alex Millward, and Millward is certainly pushing hard. And this is the kind of thing when we might have battles on track, but just watching Alex Milward for a bit and see how he makes that gap happen. And now, as a viewer, I want you to focus on the lines, the racing lines, what Milward is taking, and how little room he is leaving to the edge of the track, because that's the crucial thing. Once again, turn number 1, taking it nice and tidy all the way to the exit in turn at there, and then in the keyhole as leader Seppa is catching up some traffic. Once again, Milward braking as late as possible, taking the inside line there and focusing on a good exit. Once again, leaving nothing on the table, and that's how you make up time.
I wonder if Severy's just kind of taking it safe. It was a lapped car that was off track there in the background, but I wonder if the lapped cars for Seppa is what's causing him to lose a little bit of time here and there, that he's just kind of taking the easy route, not wanting to risk his car and giving up a little bit of time to Milward. Meanwhile, we're watching on screen Partanen and Trangrade, and here we go. Ove with a run as he looks to the inside once again, just a little bit before they hit the binders, and still can't do anything with it.
No, he can't, so he's going to be putting on pressure. Meanwhile, Milward is poised to lose some time here. As I'm looking at him, he's caught up in the traffic, and no need to go to it. But Milward is poised to lose some time, so we're going to be seeing a weaker lap time there. I think your hypothesis might be right in some respects, but yeah, Partanen not really finding the straight line speed, not really finding, a way to get away from Uwe Trengeride. Of course, now normally a higher downforce setup is faster to the corners, but Uwe is able to make up so much ground on a straight line that, Partanen can't really break easy at all. It should be getting easier for him now that Eetu is so far away that he is no longer feeling the dirty air, and he can utilize the car better in the corners without feeling the turbulent air. And as you can see there, once again, in turn number 1, making a lot of ground is Pauli Partanen, but Uwe once again catching it all up on a straight line, and that has to be so deflating, Joe. I know that from experience, because no matter how much you're taking a risk in those corners, no matter how well you're driving, if you don't have the straight line speed, you can't pull in the gap, and the guy is coming up to you all free, not paying anything for it, not taking a risk, just putting the pedal to the metal on a straight line, and here he is once again.
A lot of John Ulmer, who races in the Autobahn series that we cover, always goes for that lower downforce, because his theory is when you got the straight line speed, you can pass. When you don't, you're just basically a sitting duck, and I think that's what Partanen is discovering today. Trangrade seems very quick through this second half of the course. We've made a big deal out of that corner they went through, the leap in turn 9. I feel like that's one of the more underrated corners in terms of difficulty in the world of racing.
It is. It's very much looks like it's napped out of maybe a British club circuit, or not even a club circuit. Something like you would find at Oldham Park, maybe. It looks like an Oldham Park corner transferred halfway across the board. And 15th place, we are hearing there has been some issues there. So Suarez just getting a pass done, I believe.
Barry West actually with a very good pass, well, sort of a pass. If we could get a replay, it was between himself, Suarez, and Weyand. I think we've got this pulled up. Here it is. Yeah, right here, down into China Beach, and this continues on for quite a while. This seems to be a theme here. If the pass starts here, you have to keep working to make it stick. That's Suarez fighting hard with West in the Tyrrell. West doesn't want to give it up, but unfortunately this opens the door for Weyand. Weyand looking maybe for the over-under, a little bit of contact even.
Yeah, so Barry West is really hampered by his lack of downforce from the rear wing. You can see the bend of rear wing from the earlier incident. And as a result of that, Barry West having to give up those two positions easily. But it might be not over yet for these guys, because, it's a great train from Andrew Gould, Sam Doby, Cristiano Craini, Pablo Suarez, Brett Weyand, and Barry West, and they are going to be battling even more as this race progresses. And can I give a shout out to Sam Doby? He is an organizer, one of the organizers of this series, one of the guys behind this great Classic Teams Championship idea of distributing these drivers into teams and paint schemes. And in this race, not the greatest of qualifying, but he's up from 31st to 12th place in a track where overtaking is about as easy as going into a party in COVID era.
As we watch Sam continue his climb, and looks like he's trying to see if he can get by Gould, which is 4th position. Now I'm trying to figure out, is that a Hesketh that Sam has? Is that the paint scheme that he's currently donning?
Oh, I think it might be, but just give me 30 seconds and I'll check it out for you.
I don't see the teddy bear on it, and so that's what kind of throws me off. But it looks similar, I want to say.
It might be one of those Formula Aurora paint schemes, so Formula 2 paint schemes that are from the lower ranked series that some of these drivers still choose to don.
So as the number 10 continues to try and hound Gould, he's...
Oh, I got the answer.
Okay.
It's from 1981, Formula 2 NL Lista racing team.
I like it. I really like it. It's a very appealing paint scheme. Meanwhile, that battle for 5th with Partanen. I thought it was going to kick off here. Trangrade had a fantastic run and then backed out of it. But they're being joined by Juanmi Costa. You can see the number 12 starting to gain.
Dobby! Dobby's in the wall! Dobby is in the wall, and there was contact between Sam Dobby and Andrew Gould. I just caught it from the edge of the commentary booth window, and here we go into the replay. We just talked about the beautiful paint scheme, and that beautiful paint scheme is not so beautiful anymore, Joe. Sam Dobby he's gonna get a great run out of turn number 1. Andrew Gould just really messing that corner up. Dobby is gonna look to the outside here into the keyhole. Yes, he is. And then as they come into the corner, Gould just, going a little bit wide on the apex. Dobby maybe not giving quite enough room, but it's tight entry and going up on 2 wheels and going into the wall. So it was so good for so long, and then it turned so bad.
He's, after such a great effort, too, that is such a shame. Meanwhile, I'm looking once again at Partanen because he's been providing so much action here towards the end of the race. And every single time, this is where Trangrade gets tantalizingly close at one of the best places to overtake, holding the inside. Now back to the racing light. Partanen feels safe enough, and Trangrade keeps backing out of it when I think he's got time left on the straight. I mean, at what point does he just #send it?
I don't know. I mean, he's going to have to lick the stamp first. But, Uwe Trangrade, he's certainly biding his time with this one, and he doesn't want to risk it really. Because while he's getting close and close and close, he's not really finding the chance, and he's seeing some lapped cars coming up too. There's a big pack between Antonio Brotta, Keith Turner, and Kyle Reed just ahead of them, and this might provide opportunities if Partanen gets stuck behind them in the corners. Now, if they are clever, they'll let the leaders by on the next couple of straights, but if not, then Uwe Trangrade might be able to keep up to Pauli Partanen in these twisty sections where he normally loses so much time, and as a result of that gets a free pass on the next straight. And yep, that's good job Kyle Reed getting out of the way first, but still 3 more to go.
On screen, Trangrade is pushing. The car got all sorts of loose coming out of turn 1. I think that cost him a little bit as he's not nearly as close. Now, one thing that we do have to keep an eye on, watch that tower on the left side, because Alex Millward has been chopping away bit by bit and is at some points within a second of Seppa.
Yeah, he is. And look who's joining the battle between Partanen and Uwe Trangrade. Sorry to cut you off. I know it's an important thing when leaders are catching each other up, but that's Juanmi Costa now behind them. And Juanmi is in a popcorn position, so Uwe is really starting to soon feel pressured into making that move you mentioned earlier.
More lap traffic in a really bad place. This is Del Muth. Is he going to time it right? Oh, almost for all of them as he gets caught out, but doesn't lose too much time. And then up next, it's a Brotta.
It is, and Del Muth once again being involved in a really hairy situation. Mind you, he was involved in that 3 wide when Vainiokangas made his fantastic overtake earlier on. And now on Uwe Trangrade actually, and now he once again had to get out of the way in a tricky position to avoid Pauli Partanen, Uwe Trangrade, and Juanmi Costa. And Costa breaking really late into the keyhole, thankfully able to avoid Uwe Trangrade, but now Uwe is closer than ever to Pauli Partanen, who is able to get a little bit of draft from Chris Hemmings, but not too much at this stage.
Oof. So is Hemmings going to be a hindrance though through Madness and the S's here? Oh, great call by Chris! Wow, look at that!
Yeah, good job. And he really, he didn't want. He may be named Hemming, but he didn't want to be a lemming there and throwing everybody down a cliff.
They didn't hem and haw. But anyways, as they come over the leap one more time, Trangarade not getting the opportunities he's been hoping for. This has got to be frustrating, but he's been in these situations before. We know he's been a fast driver, and there's a mistake he's been looking for. Off the carousel goes Partanen. He finally cracked under the pressure.
Oh no. So, that wasn't even a big error, but it was big enough. He just braked too late. Uwe Trangarade saying thank you very much. Juan Costa saying gracias as well. And then, Pauli Partanen losing 2 positions, and he's going to have a very difficult time. But it's not over yet, because even though Uwe Trangarade got the overtake done, he's got a very fast Juan Costa right behind him. And Juan Costa, he is sideways, and he is charging, and he is looking for Uwe, and he is looking for the top 5. Wouldn't it be a great result for both of these guys?
Remember, Costa's trying to come back through. He started in 5th position. He's down in 6th. He's just trying to get back where he began this thing. So he's a little bit out of place as they slide it through this back and forth. It looks like they've only got 10 laps to go this time by, I believe.
Yeah, it says so on the top left of the screen. So 10 to go have we got, and these guys really trying to make the best out of those 10 laps, with Trangarade and Costa really getting closer and closer to each other here. And look at the gap that's formed between top 3 and everybody else. I mean, that just goes to show you how on the edge you have to be to really be fast at Mid-Ohio, because that's not a thing that normally happens.
Fast is really the name of the game for a lot of drivers. We're only down to 18 drivers left on the lead lap out of 33 starters. We knew this was a very short lap around here, but still, they have been a torrid pace up at the front. As we come down the backstretch one more time, Uwe Trangarade has gone from attack to defense. So, how well can he switch it up here?
I mean, he may be going to defense, but he is still gonna feel like an upturned tack on the bare foot of Juan Costa if he keeps this kind of defense up, because we know how difficult it can be. As we saw with Eetu, how difficult it can be to overtake a car that goes really fast on a straight line. And Juan Costa is certainly feeling that right now. Also, the thing is, Costa has been using up his tires a lot, so I wonder how much he has left for these last couple of laps, but so is Uwe, and now Juan Costa getting closer and closer. He's getting closer than ever into this main straight, and this is where you want to be close.
He's very close. He gets a great exit, looks to the inside. We saw they pull this move before, but he's not going to be on the receiving end as Costa decides to back out of it. This has been such a mental game today for many of these drivers, and many of them have unfortunately buckled.
Yeah, and he shouldn't have gone for that turn 1 overtake, and he did not, because that's where you apply the pressure and ideally get a good exit onto the run up to keyhole by forcing Uwe into the wrong line, forcing Uwe to try and break himself out. But Uwe is having absolutely none of it, despite making slight errors, despite coming to the corners a couple of times too hot. He's not making any big errors happen. He knows his position. He knows that it's going to be very difficult for Juan Costa to get by if he can keep his straight line speed up, if he can keep it on the straight and narrow. And that's exactly what the Norwegian is doing right now. So Uwe Trangarade, we know him better from the Lotus 49, but hey, all these new dangled machinery, all these kits with their silly downforce and ground effects, he might just make friends with them.
Wade, don't need to go to it, but Suarez got a hit from behind from Wayand. That lost him a number of positions. He's down to 15th. Wayand able to keep going in P11. Newcomer apparently being a little bit rough on his intro to the series as we continue to watch Trangarade just ahead of Costa. Costa trying that mental game, getting in the mirrors of the Norwegian, not getting a pass attempt in this time though.
No, he's not, and going a little bit wide for my liking at the exit of keyhole as well, so not gonna get that chance coming up to China Beach as well. But yeah, he's putting his nose in there, and that's the first thing. You gotta put your nose in there and, make your attempt known to the guy in front of you. Make him fear, make him think. That's the first thing you want to do. Make him think, make him wary about the possibility of an attack from behind. That's gonna cause instinctively the driver in front to drive defensively instead of focusing on their own racing lines, focusing on their own pace. And when you have the driver driving defensively, then you can start to plan your attack. Okay, he's defending down the inside. I'm gonna look down the outside. Can I brake later than him? Yes, I can. Okay, I can brake late around the outside, force him to outbrake himself on the inside, then go for a crossover on the exit. That is one possibility. Other possibility is that you look around the outside, round the outside, round the outside. You don't even make an attempt to look down the inside, and instinctively they're gonna start to close that middle lane instead of the deep inside line, and then you can sell them a dummy. And once you can sell that absolute dummy, it's very difficult to pull off with the timing and everything, especially as Juan Costa lacks the straight line speed. But that is one opportunity that he's got to know, and he's got to start setting it up right now. With 7 to go, he's gonna have to start setting it up right now, which he is doing. He's all the time applying the pressure so he can make that move when it counts.
Both of them just chucked it into China Beach that time, nearly sliding off into the grass. But they hold on to it. Can't say that they're not trying. As you mentioned, it's fewer and fewer laps, so maybe desperation starting to creep in a little bit for Wanmi. Up ahead of them, I've been keeping an eye on Millward and Seppa. It's been going back and forth, interestingly, wavering between 1 second and 1.8 seconds between P1 and P2.
Yeah, a lot of traffic for these guys in the last couple of laps as well. They are just cleared the last batch, and next up they have Rolleveld and Suarez, with Rolleveld actually outside of their screens. No need to go to it, getting past Suarez.
This is the best opportunity. Sorry, Costa is very, very close, and Trangrade knows it. He covers the inside. Is Costa going to try and pull some of the moves you were talking about? Around the outside, looks to square it off, get the run off the corner. He's going to have a great opportunity. Can he do it into China Beach, Ozzy?
Look to the outside first, Ronnie. Look to the outside. Don't go straight to the inside. No, he's going straight to the inside. But Uwe doesn't fend him off. He's happy with his straight line speed and doesn't try to defend it on the inside. That's a very interesting call from Uwe Trengeride. But he has the inside now into this next corner. But Juanmi around the outside, getting it done, and side by side once again, Joe. And this is great battling. But Juanmi having to brake a little bit too early to the next one. And Uwe Trengeride doing a great job of fending him off. Wow. And look at how loose Juanmi's rear is.
And you know what? I think that is from all the marbles that they've been running through. We couldn't quite see it on screen, but I can tell you that they have collected big time off the racing line. I am impressed that both of them held as well as they did with all the gunk that has got to be collected on their tires from that. So the battle continues. And now down to 5 to go, but we're starting to see a few opportunities form as once again he is close behind him out of turn 1.
But he clobbered that inside curb. You don't want to do that. You want to lick the curb. You want to be on the touching distance of the curb, but you don't want to touch it. That unsettles your car just a little bit for such a fast corner. I think Juanmi would have been even closer had he not done it. But once again, he is having a chance. Now, is Uwe going to be more conscious about defending that inside line? It looks like he's happy to stick on the racing line. So, you know, Uwe is not happy to play this game. He doesn't want to play this game with Juanmi. Goes wide into the China Beach, and that's Juanmi Costa saying gracias, obrigado, and going past.
There's some Norwegian obscenities being shouted inside that cockpit as well. But Costa with a fantastic, forceful move both times through China Beach, and this one finally made something happen. 5th. Let's take a glance at our leaders. We haven't watched them because, well, they haven't been as close as that fight we were glancing at for P5 for so long. 4 to go. Millward still holding at about 1.2 back. He can see Seppa up in front of him. He's been able to see him for quite some time, just not able to do anything with it. Unfortunately, they've got a battle for position in front of them now, so this could change the complexion of this lap traffic.
Yeah, Markus Seufzer and Timothy Reed as well. Actually, not a battle for position. They're on different laps, but Timothy Reed still, you know, just trying his best to harass Markus, I suppose, there. And trying, you know, his best to, I suppose, stay out of the way of Severi Seppa as well. And here he go. He lifts on the outside, and Severi Seppa saying thank you. And he also lets Alex Millward by. That's a great job by Timothy Reed, recognizing the situation and recognizing that this is not a battle he wants to interfere with. Right, now Severi needs to get past Markus Seufzer as soon as possible, preferably before turn number 1, but he's not able to pull that off.
And Traegray just got by Costa. Wanmi made his own mistake. almost spun out in almost the exact same fashion. And Traegerade and Ove just slipped right on by.
So here you go. Huanmin not even at an attack range, really, Ove not really at an attack range. He cut that curb on the inside, did a great job of saving the car, and Ove Traegeride saying, oh, look at that, China Beach, and making a mistake. Where do I remember that one from? And taking the position back. So Juan Costa, now it's time for, I think, some Spanish hops in this. Or Portuguese, I don't know.
As he continues to stay, we unfortunately won't be able to continue to cover this because Millward is as close as he has been all race long. He won the last one, but that was being up front. This time he's got to fight and attack to get by Seppa. Oh, and he is pushing hard. You can see that car squirming over the leap.
Yeah, what a grandstand finish we are going to have here. But Alex now doesn't have the data necessarily, where Seppa is weak. And that's a lap car spinning out of the way conveniently. Cristiano Coraini having a little bit of an unorthodox way of getting out of this leader's road. And now Severi, he has 2 laps to go to try and defend and try and hold this gap against Alex Millward. That's the first thing he's got to do. He cannot let Alex Millward into the attacking range, because I know if it's the last lap, they're coming up to China Beach and Alex Millward is 0.2 of a second away, he will send it. He will absolutely send it, because we know Alex can be late on the brakes. We know he can brake even when sideways. He's got great car control, and he's probably the worst driver you can see on your mirrors right now in this field.
Behind them, they've got no pressure because poor Andy T has been frustrated by lap traffic. He got chopped off, and he is now 4 seconds back. So it has surely become a 2-car fight for the win here. And they're going to get
ahead of them.
Wrecked cars, and Millward has to take avoiding action, costing him valuable time up to Seppa.
Yeah, but Seppa has a damaged car in front of him in form of Barry West, and Barry West, I think he's going to have to get out of the way as soon as possible, but Barry's not realizing the situation. Barry's holding his line, and Millward makes a big mistake. Millward goes wide in the penultimate corner. He almost goes into the pits. Is that going to allow Andy T to get through? Yes, it is. Wow.
Racing gods smiling once again on Andy T as he's able to get into second. He's going to have to defend a bit here on the final lap, though, as Millward's still half a second back from him and probably incensed after that moment.
Yeah, I would be. I mean, that's just, Alex Millward is probably, not happy about the lapped cars, but honestly, you can't help having an incident in the penultimate lap. They have their own battles, and Alex picked the wrong line, whereas Severi picked the exactly right line. He picked the inside line, went through, didn't lose a lot of time. Alex went to the outside, lost a lot of time, and made an error, and wow. And that's Juan Costa and Uwe Traegeride as well, getting very close.
Way to the inside, Costa to the outside, looking for the better run. Maybe squaring off the corner. No, he's going to be in the grass, and that will end that fight. Tries to weave to get the grass off of his tires. Meanwhile, up in the Ferrari, Severi Seppa has managed to qualify in third, but slowly work his way up to the lead and complete with a victory here today at Mid-Ohio. Andy T going to come home behind him, just barely ahead of Millward with second and Millward in third.
Yeah, and what a battle between those guys, and what drama on the last lap as well. And then we're going to get Eetu Vainio-Kangas home fourth, and then the battle duo, Uwe Traegeride, Juan Costa, with Uwe Traegeride, the Lotus 49 master, usually seen at home there, not so much at home here, but the top 5 for him at Mid-Ohio. Even a little happy wiggle on the last corner. What a battle between these guys. Fantastic.
Fun stuff to watch. That's really the last of our battles for position. So we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Mid-Ohio. We had a stunner out here today. So much for not being able to pass here, because there was certainly some phenomenal overtakes, with Seppa managing to overtake 2 cars to win ahead of Andy T, who put it on the pole and still couldn't convert. But this time he finished ahead of Alex Millward, just barely. Alex, a little bit upset after the end of the race, it sounds like, but he went from 6th to 3rd. He can't be too disappointed with himself. Ivani Okongas finishing 4th. And how about Trangarade? All the fighting that he did was for quite a result, from 13th to 5th. Juan Costa with P6, and Pauli Partanen finishing in 7th. Thomas Torp got a little bit of damage and still managed to climb from 18th to 8th. Laust Olsen as well, 16th to 9th. And Anand Rahman finished in 10th.
Brett Wayand gonna finish 11th after starting 10th. Also the last car on the lead lap. So one lap down, we have Barry West 12th despite his damage. Derek Rolwell 13th. Andrew Gold 14th. Kraini, Theolis, Simpkins, Dobie, Sars, and Keith Herner rounding out your top 20. And the rest of the cars gonna be 2 laps or more down. Joe.
That is pretty much all of our field that had a bad day, and many DNFs behind them as well. So we've got our winner ready to talk to us, Severi Seppa, taking his first victory of the season. So let's pull him in and see what he thinks of how that race went from his perspective. Severi, my goodness, your first victory, that has to feel good. But you certainly had some pressure from behind. Alex continuing to chop away. Were you sweating at all?
Not really. More, more concerned for the cars in front. Lapped cars.
You certainly sound like a cool cucumber after that one. It looked like it was a race that required you to really just focus ahead and try and put the good laps in, especially once you got into the lead. I mean, is that kind of what went through your mind, just not worry about whatever's happening behind you?
Yeah. During the mid race, my car was a bit unbalanced, but in the end, it was pretty good to drive.
This will give your championship hopes a shot in the arm. You were sitting 4th coming into this one, but obviously this will help boost you a little bit up the order looking forward. Are there any other strong tracks that you think you could repeat a victory on?
I'm not sure really. I'm quite unfamiliar with the tracks this season, but we'll see.
Well, congratulations once again, Severi, and hopefully we get to talk to you some more this season.
Thanks.
Clearly representing Finns very well there in that number 1. And we've got Andy T with us for second place, as Ozzy is going to talk to the Brit.
Well, Andy T, you walked on through the wind, you walked on through the rain, but at the end of your dream, there was no golden sky. How does the second place feel?
Meh.
Yeah, it's gotta be feeling that way. You had a lead for so long, and then you just threw it away in the middle of the race under no pressure. Were you just trying to hot lap there, maybe extend your lead, or what?
Okay, I wasn't pushing.
Okay, so you weren't pushing, then why did you make an error?
I do that thing that Teemu has a habit of doing, where you think about everything but the corner in front of you, and all it takes is a wheel on the grass, and that's that. I'm just so annoyed because I've done that twice today. 2 free wins, basically.
Yeah, judging by your answers, the interview wasn't the part you were thinking of, huh?
No.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just frustrating because, I mean, I think my setup is basically perfect if you're in clean air. It was all down to problem in chair, not problem in car today. I think when I was pushing at the end, when traffic wasn't murdering me, I was easily feeling like I was the fastest guy on track, but it was too late at that point.
Yeah, it's gonna be gutting, but there's still gonna be chances. There's still gonna be great races coming up. So, how much confidence does this pace give you for the rest of the season?
Depends who shows up, really, because there was no Gernot today, no Tamash, no Oscary. So, yeah, I mean, those guys are the aliens, if you will. But yes, sure, it's confidence building, providing I can get rid of my brain fade issues. That's the main problem.
Yeah, Well, anyway, thank you, Andy. And well, if you have any greetings or anything you'd like to say, then feel free to do so.
Yeah, pro tip, don't spin all by yourself, Alex.
Yep, that's a very good tip. That's a very good tip. Top tip from Andy Teeter and Chopik. He's gonna be next talking to our third place driver.
The driver who at one point was very close to trying to challenge for the win. As we pull Alex Millward here into the booth. Let's see if we can get him in. There we go. We've got Alex with us now. Alex, it sounds like there was a little bit of frustration at the end. You were gaining and gaining, and you and Andy seem to have something to kind of commiserate on with the traffic.
Yeah, loads of sheep.
It seems like. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I got choked up. It's tough on a track like that when it doesn't split and people are 7 seconds slower. I think there was a guy on the grid saying it was his first time in this car today, which tells you a lot. It's pretty selfish, really. If you're not going to give us the respect to do some practice, just jump in. I mean, you're going to see stuff that happen like that.
Very, very upset about how the end of the race went there. You managed to climb from 6. Was that qualifying a bit out of character for you, or is that your maximum pace?
Oh, John, no, come on. You know I'm easily the fastest guy in the UK right now. No. I had no qualifying pace at all. I haven't been practicing much. The race pace was really surprising, actually. I just put a bit more wing for the qualifying, but no, it didn't work out. The guys coming through as well, Peter, a few others behind coming in. So it's really tough. People put the practice in and they show it on track how quick they are.
I know you're probably hoping for a little bit more than the bottom step of the podium, but is there anybody you want to thank for today's race?
Congrats to Saveri and Andy and everyone else who finished cleanly, and just you guys and Dirty Talk, etc.
Thanks for coming and talking to us. This has been 3 very interesting interviews, as I think we're going to do one more with Vani Okongas before we go, who finished in place. He also had quite a fascinating bit of battling. Aussie's going to try and see if we can get some words out of this Finn.
I'm sure we can. Eetu Fruitti, Vainio Kangas. Well, you started 4th, you finished 4th, but that's not the whole story.
Yeah, definitely not. Bit of a unlucky contact with Ronnie in the beginning, and yeah, that pretty much ruined my race. But yeah, good grind to back to 4th though.
Yeah, you had an amazing battle with Uwe Trenger right there, and one of the best passes I've seen all season long. Was it always the plan to, try and hold it alongside him as long as possible and eventually try to force your way through, or was it just happening of the circumstance?
That was pretty much the happening. I think it started all the way from the start finish line, the battle, and yeah, just that was fun.
I mean, that's one way to put it. Okay, Eetu. Well, there's a lot of races to go this season still, a lot of chances for you to climb up on that podium. Who would you like to thank at this occasion? Do you want to send any greetings?
Andy for sure, for we pretty much set up, or he set up the car this week for me, so that was a big head up, and I got the fastest lap, I see. So yeah, that was Andy was a huge help this week because I got too little practice this week. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Eetu, and good luck next week.
Thank you.
And I think that's gonna be a wrap, Joe.
Is indeed. We're going to close out today. Man, this is actually some of the more entertaining interviews we've had for a while in the series. Certainly some talk that's going to be happening in the forums after this one. But we're going to close out with a reminder that you can advertise with us here on GSRC by checking out the link in the description below if you want to get your company on air. And a big thank you as well to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And of course, thank you to the team, Ozzy, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, you can check out our social media with Twitter being at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, we also have a merchandise store link below. It's just simply gsrc.storenvy.com. While you're down there, make sure and subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss the next race. That is going to be at Circuit of the Americas, going to a more modern track. It'll be Sunday, October 25th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Well, we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. If you come back in a couple hours, we've got Big C's MX5 Challenge starting their new season. That'll kick off at Okayama at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. But until next time, race clean, race hard, see you on the track.